Premier, it's Richard Southern from City News 680. Why did it take your entire caucus having to tell you what their constituents were feeling? Why did it take 2 legislative reports? It was clear from the get-go something wasn't right. You admitted that. Why did it take all this for you to reverse this?
Well, thanks for the question, Richard. When you're facing a crisis, no matter if it's a housing crisis or a crisis during the pandemic, and when they came to me and said, produce homes and roofs over people's heads for a minimum of 150,000 people, you'll have a hospital, you have long-term care, I felt we needed to move. I've come out here today to admit it was wrong. It was a wrong decision, and that we're putting this land back in the Greenbelt. We're going to continue to be focused 100% on every avenue to build homes for people of this province, the young people that are looking to buy a home, the newcomers that are coming here that want to buy a home. That's not attainable at this point. We're going to continue building homes. Our target is the 1.5 million homes, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Premier is sorry enough. My question is, what consequences should you face for this mess up?
Well, Richard, you know, as the leader of this party, as the leader of this province, you know, I always say, not everyone's perfect. And leadership shows if you make a mistake, you come out and admit it. You tell the people what you're going to do to correct it and make sure that happens. And that's what I've done. That's what I've shown when I've made other mistakes. And I'm the first to admit that I'm not perfect. But every intention that I have, no matter if it's building homes or anything else, is the right intention to help the people of Ontario in every aspect, if it's healthcare or education or building homes. You know, the intent is always there for the right purposes.
Alan Bennett, St. Catharines Standard. Just wondered if targets for local municipalities will remain as far as building new homes are concerned, and if they might be impacted by the elimination of the Greenbelt properties.
No, thank you for that question. The targets will remain the same. We want to work collaboratively with our municipalities. There's a lot of municipalities are really excited about building more homes, and there are a few municipalities wider, they don't want to build at all. Those municipalities, all of them, need to be held accountable. We'll be publishing frequently the targets that we've set out, and the targets where the municipalities, if they've achieved their goal or if they're falling behind their goal, but we all have to pitch in. As you've heard, I kept using the number of 504,000 people. We know now it's probably closer to 800,000 people that are showing up to our province every single year. That's excluding the over 400,000 international students, the migrant workers, the visitors that are coming here and staying. We're going to continue to make sure that we use every avenue and every tool in our toolbox to build homes.
Excellent, thanks. Is there an update on the governance review situation? Is that still going to be moving forward given this? And it's still, I suppose, on the table?
It's actually legislated that we review it every 10 years. Minister Calandra will continue to look through the process, but we aren't going to touch the Greenbelt.
Premier Rob Ferguson, Toronto Star.
Hi, Rob.
So, hi. You've reversed this decision after months and months and months, but you're still facing an RCMP investigation. They're sniffing around. We don't know if it's going to be a full-fledged investigation or not. So, are you hoping this move throws the Mounties off the scent? What's your expectation with that?
No, not at all. I don't get involved in any police investigation at all. They have a job to do. I'm going to continue moving forward to build homes for the people of Ontario. Moving forward with the promises that we made to the people of Ontario in 2022, and we're going to make sure that we fulfill those promises. And in 4 years, in 2026, I should say, people will have a choice to determine if I kept our promises and I got the job done.
Do you think, or are there any concerns you could face legal action from developers who are annoyed at this decision and
Well,
might
I
decide to...
I can't predict the future, but my main goal is to work with the builders because they're part of the solution. The community builders, as I call them, because they're the ones building the communities, and that's a decision that we've had to make. And I can't determine what the builders are going to do.
Hey, good afternoon, Premier Colin DeMello from Global News. I wanted to talk about the Stag and Doe that you held in your backyard about a year ago. We learned some incredible details today that Tony Miele, the head of the Ontario PC fundraising arm, sold tickets to a developer who purchased those tickets and, attended the Stag and Doe. Where did that money go, Premier? Did it go into your family's bank account?
Well, Colin, first of all, the Integrity Commissioner cleared me 100% today. Tony's been a friend of the family for many, many years, and he did it on his own accord, and but the Integrity cleared me 100% today, and it was a stag, not a Stag and Doe, but here and there.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification on what kind of a party it was, Premier, but help us understand here. How should Ontarians trust you when you are hosting developers in your backyard? Those developers pay money to have access to you and your backyard, and the money goes to your family. This is developers to the party to your family.
Well,
Is that
I
not
appreciate
corruption?
Well, first of all, Colin, thank you for that question. I've never taken a penny from absolutely anyone. I've never even expensed a hamburger or a chocolate bar, nothing, ever. I pay out of my own pocket. And as for if people want to talk to me, they can show up to Ford Fest, that thousands of people do, but no one can influence me. Simple as that.
Hi, Premier. William Beltrington from the Canadian Press. You have said that if Khalid Rashid can clear his name through the Integrity Commissioner, he'll have an opportunity to return to caucus.
Yes.
But what do you actually want him to clear his name of?
Well, again, Khalid offered his resignation to cabinet and the party. I understand there's something that he's dealing with the Integrity Commissioner. I don't know the exact details, but I'm sure he'll sit down with the Integrity Commissioner, and if he does clear his name, then he'll be back in our caucus here.
But Premier, what is the allegation that you were troubled by specifically?
Again, Clede came to me and felt there was a distraction out there regarding himself, and he offered his resignation, and I accepted it.
Hi, Premier. Cynthia Mulligan from City News. I have to ask you, what happened that this has gone so sideways? How did this happen? You've lost 2 ministers, a chief of staff, you're mired in controversy. Why?
Well, like I've said before, Cynthia, I've come out here earlier on and said the process was not up to par.
But how did that happen? How was the process not up to par?
I'll answer it if you give me a second here. I said before, when the Auditor General's report came out, that the process it was terrible. I admitted it. I saw the mistakes. We took the recommendations. Now we're taking the last recommendation from the Auditor General's report, and we're going to put land back into the Greenbelt. And I'm here to acknowledge it was a mistake. I'm here to apologize to the people, and we're going to move forward and continue building homes.
Premier, this is arguably the worst Ontario government scandal since the gas plants. Many would say it's even worse than that because some stood to gain a lot of money, billions. Has your government become the very thing that you said it never would? The very thing that you criticized about other governments, the elites, the insiders benefiting?
There was no taxpayers' money involved, Cynthia, compared it to the gas plants. Billions of dollars of taxpayers' money were lost. There was not 1 cent of taxpayers' money that was used on the Greenbelt here.
Hi, Premier Mike Crowley from CBC.
Hi, Mike.
It was actually 10 months ago that your cabinet, those people standing behind you, made the decision to remove the land from the Greenbelt.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, what did you guys actually think you were doing? You know, you say now the process wasn't good, but did you not look at that proposal that came forward and say, hey, how did we decide on these lands? And, you know, isn't this really not maybe a good idea? Because I promised I'm not going to touch the Greenbelt. Why did you do it back then, 10 months ago?
Well, thanks for that question, Mike. When you're facing a crisis, we have people sleeping in church basements, up in malls in my area, and as more people are coming, not to mention the asylum seekers that the federal government has basically dropped on our lap to take care of housing, and we're in a crisis, folks, make no mistake about it. You do things that you might otherwise not to do. The intention was right. We need to build homes. There's now going to be 150,000 people that will not have a roof over their heads, but we're going to continue to build in areas that we can build on. We're going to focus on transit-oriented communities. We're going to focus on modular homes that will be a starter home, will be affordable and attainable. And we're going to make sure that we hit our targets with collaboration through the municipalities, and hopefully the federal government will help out, and the province, and the private sector.
Khalid Rashid resigned because he admitted he'd lied to the Integrity Commissioner, and he said, I mistakenly gave incorrect information, but you know, that's another way of wording lying. Is everything that you said to the Integrity Commissioner during this investigation the truth, the whole truth?
I've always told the truth. It was the Auditor General I had a meeting with, and she cleared me. The Integrity Commissioner has cleared me. I want to move forward and continue doing what we got elected to do. And that's to continue creating jobs for the people of this province, over 700,000 of them. We're going to continue focusing on economic growth and affordability, making sure that we aren't taxing people and taking money out of their pockets. We're going to continue focusing on fixing the healthcare system and building infrastructure with 50 new hospitals or additions to hospitals for $50 billion, and building transit right across this province, the largest transit system in North America. You know, folks, you know, again, I'm going to say I'm not perfect. No government's perfect. But we're working hard to do and fulfill the commitments that we promised in the 2022 election. And we're going to continue fulfilling those promises.
Hi, Premier Siobhan Morris from CTV. How are you expecting people to put any weight into the renewed promise you've made today not to touch the Greenbelt, considering not only you've broken that promise one time, but you really dug in on that for many, many months, despite publicly people saying this was a bad idea?
Well, first of all, when you come up here, like I am today, admitted I made a mistake, and I apologize for that mistake, we're going to have to continue moving forward. And proof will be in the pudding, as I said, Siobhan. People will have a choice. We live in a democracy. They're going to decide, did we keep our promises? Did we build highways? Did we build hospitals? Did we build hundreds of thousands of homes? Over 1.5 million homes. Are we on target to do that? Have we kept our promise? And they're going to ask themselves, is this province in better shape in 2026 than it was when we ran in 2018. And I can tell you, Siobhan, this province is in a little better shape. It's in 1,000 times better shape for the people of Ontario on every single aspect in every single ministry than when we took office in 2018. And we're going to continue moving forward on our mandate, and the people will hold us accountable.
I'm wondering what you felt personally or thought personally when you heard the story about Mr. Rashid and the massages in Vegas with people, somebody else who worked in your office at the time, and a developer as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, I read it in the paper, to be very frank with you, got advised. I expect everyone to follow the rules, people inside and outside of the government. And I think I've demonstrated if you don't follow the rules, I don't want you part of the government. I don't want even the outsiders dealing with government. There's rules that are made for a reason. Follow the rules. It's as simple as that.
Hi, Premier. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail.
Hi, Laura.
You've called the Greenbelt a scam. You said it was drawn up essentially with darts on a chalkboard. It's a field of weeds. I could go on with the greatest hits. Have you seen the light now on the value of the Greenbelt, or are you just doing this because everyone is completely fed up and angry with your government over your decision?
Well, you know something, I listen to the people when we're out there, and I listen to our caucus, listen to our cabinet, that we made a mistake and we need to move forward. And that's what we're going to do. We aren't going to touch the Greenbelt. We're actually putting over 9,400 more acres into the Greenbelt, the largest expansion of the Greenbelt since it existed. And we're going to grow the Greenbelt like we did prior. It was 2,000 acres larger than when I took office. So now it's going to be 9,400 acres larger than when I took office in 2018.
Okay, so you value the Greenbelt now. On another topic of national interest, Alberta has come out today and said they're looking into getting out of the CPP, and they believe they're entitled to half of the funds in that. As the Premier of Ontario, what do you think of Alberta's proposal, and do you think that that is fair to your province, that they would be entitled to half of that money?
Well, I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and talk to the Premier of Alberta. I definitely plan on doing that. You know, the way I look at it, Ontario is the engine of Canada. Ontario supports other provinces and territories. We always believe in being the largest province, and other provinces may be struggling, the smaller provinces. We're there for them. We've always been there. The territories as well. So, you know, we live in a country that everyone shares responsibilities, and we always believe in making sure that we're a leader in the country on all fronts, and we'll be there to always support my colleagues and other provinces and territories.
Good afternoon, Premier. Jason Goodall with CHCH News. Now that you mentioned that the Greenbelt, everything's going back in, what does the plan of building within the areas to build? You mentioned modular homes, etc. What does that look like moving forward, and where exactly?
Well, again, I always believe in working hand in hand in collaboration with our municipal governments, or provincial and federal. The federal government owns quite a bit of land. The province owns quite a bit of land, and some municipalities own land. Let's start building on the land that we have. You know, I always say the land, some people call it the dirt, is about 30% of the cost. We're going to make sure that when we have transit, that we build over top of the transit stations and around the transit stations to create density. But not everyone wants to live in a condominium. We need to increase rental, purpose-built rentals as well, because some people won't be able to afford a home, but they need a place to call home, a roof over their heads. And we're going to do every single thing we can to work with the other two levels of government to continue to build. as I get held accountable, the builders, I can assure you, will be held accountable, and so will the municipalities be held accountable to make sure that they hit their targets. We're in a crisis, and there's no more excuses.
And going back to reviewing the process, does that mean that the developmental fees that were cut, are they going to be returned to municipalities?
No, and they weren't cut. You know, that was for non-profit, you know, purpose-built rentals. They're still going to be able to charge their regular fee on regular development, but we just aren't going to increase it because some municipalities, I'll give you an example. Some municipalities, I'm not going to start calling them out, before you get a shovel in the ground, their fees are anywhere from $130,000 to $150,000 before you get a shovel in the ground. Guess who's paying for that? It's the people, first-time home buyers in a lot of cases. They're the ones paying those fees. So they're still going to be able to charge on regular builds, but when it comes to purpose-built rentals, and I'm glad that the federal government followed our lead about getting rid of their part of the GST. So now the total HST will be removed on the purpose-built rentals. But what we do need them to do is go one step further. We will match you if you cut the fees, the GST, on starter homes under $500,000. That's how you get things moving. We're willing to do that and help the people, and we need the federal government to do exactly the same thing.
This will be the last reporter.
Hey, Premier, it's Charlie Bingerton of the Trillium. I'm just wondering if Jay Truesdale continues to work in your office, and if so, what separates his situation from Khalid Rashid's, who resigned over essentially the same set of circumstances?
Jay gave his resignation to my chief of staff.
Okay, and in returning the land back to the Greenbelt, will the government owe the developers whose lands were removed and that they expected to be able to build houses on anything? And if so, can you explain how much that'll cost and if you'll make it public?
Well, we'll make it public, that's for sure, but the minister's working through those details, and they'll be public once we find out. So as we wrap up, folks, you know, I just want to tell you, we're going to build as many homes as possible. And again, I want to acknowledge that I made a mistake, and I apologize for that mistake. But we are going to do everything we can for your children, for your grandchildren, for newcomers that are coming to this province that want a roof over their head, want a dream of home ownership that they wouldn't have been able to do if we haven't made these decisions moving forward, no matter if it's a development charges or making it easier to move forward and quicker to get a permit. This would never happen. If we just handed it over and did nothing and left it with municipalities, the housing crisis would get worse. We're doing everything in our powers with the proper intentions to have affordable, attainable homes for people in this province. And I thank you for your understanding. And again, may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much.